We can split. Well, you know, just get the entire gang here. Like,
Why?
really? We're a family. Sure.
Why are we like this? Are we
No, yeah, go back there. What are you doing? No, actually, come back.
Trying to coordinate. All right. Okay. All right. Hello, we're Team Oat Sports, and we're here to present on our semester-long project related to Rice Athletics. So first of all, we want to thank our community partner and our mentor. So we had a really good relationship with Sergio, who is the president of the Rice Rally Club, and he gave us a lot of insights related to Rice Athletics and different kinds of sports and student participation at Rice. And Amber talked about different insights related to creating an overall positive experience for students to come to games and having a better relationship with Rice athletes. So first of all, we all know that Rice doesn't have a strong sports culture. So our problem space is that Rice students don't go to games. And Johan is going to talk about our user persona.
So meet Eustace. He was valedictorian of his high school and senior by AP credit. Thank you very much. He attended some of his high school games. Like, he went to some basketball, volleyball, and football games, but now he doesn't go so much. He had an O-week brother that was an athlete on the basketball team, and he went to some games during freshman year, but not so much now. And he would go to more games, but his friends don't go, so he doesn't really see why he should go to games as well.
Okay. After interviewing with Sergio, my brother, the Rice Rally Club president, other student athletes and other just students that participate in the culture or don't, we accumulated these main numbers, so the average attendance at games and how much each stadium or arena holds. After looking at these numbers, it was pretty clear that getting the stadium at such a large capacity was really not feasible. So we mainly focused on achieving basketball with 300 as a critical number.
So from our interviews with non-athletes, we have a lot of good insights about why people don't go to games and people's general perspective on Rice athletics. So some of the problem spaces, people don't know where and when games are. They would only go if their friends go, and there's not really a social culture around sports. They don't have relationships with people on the teams with the athletes. So we found that people who do go to games are pretty close with athletes, but people who don't have relationships with athletes, which is pretty common because during a week from the start, they're they're on very separate paths, non-athletes and athletes. They don't really have interest in going to games, those people who don't form those early connections. Tutors far away, as are all the other athletic arenas, and there's not much exposure to sports culture on campus among non-athletes. There's also that. This is one insight we got from a non-athlete who said that talking to basketball and football players was just a neck-craning experience. We didn't ideate around this or anything, so just wanted to throw it out there.
But after incorporating the insights from user interviews and research, we wanted to come up with some measures of success that capture the essence of our prototype. So these are qualitative and quantitative. So in terms of quantitative measure of success, we want to make sure that by the end of January we increased student participation by 30. So we have at least 30 more students come to basketball games on a regular basis. We also want to promote to make sure that at the end of January next year we have we reach the magical 300 number to get the whole stadium really exciting and to promote more people to come to games. And we also want to make sure that for any digital platforms to advertise games, there are at least 150 people viewing the stories, or whether that's through Instagram or Snapchat, to also make sure that there is, an online way to share and talk about sports, even when people can't go to games physically. And different ways to collect these information and data is through different scalable platforms such as exit surveys or Poly, which will be explained later. And in terms of qualitative measure success, we just want to improve the overall experience of students coming to games, to make sure that they're actually having a good time. And Sam will talk about design goals.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about design goals for our design. So we want our design to be easily integrated into students' daily life. We're trying to work from like a cultural level so that it's not just like a one-off event, which also plays into sustainable. Sustainable in the sense that we don't want it to be, you have one big event and a bunch of people go to a game and then everything goes right back to where it was and there's not really any long-term difference. And then our third design goal is standout branding. We're trying to make our solution appeal to students in advertisement, just market it in a way that appeals to students and doesn't seem like the way that Rice Athletics usually markets itself. So now I'll take you through our how can we statement. How can we increase student attendance at Rice basketball games? Cool.
Behold our prototype. So basically the idea is a Snapchat account that athletes can take over and post their everyday life, post their practices, courtside videos. So the main idea behind that is really to connect athletes to the rest of the student body. They can plug themselves, they can plug the residential college. It kind of gives you this ability to connect with them in a way that you didn't get to during O Week and just the rest of your school career. And
So we think that this meets a lot of our design goals as well as some of the problem spaces we identified. While it doesn't start at O Week, it tries to kind of reconnect athletes and non-athletes by creating like a connection between them that's not necessarily in like the athletic setting or an academic setting where it's not so easy to kind of socialize. It also is a new platform for advertising games. We found that a lot of the Facebook events were kind of confusing because Rice Rally would make one and then Rice Athletics would make one, and they kind of all got lost in the mix. So this is kind of a new, bold, clean way to advertise games that comes from a real athlete. And then we also want to create discussion through content that we have on the stories and get people kind of organically talking about games and athletes and athlete culture where it might usually be more separate. And also it gives athletes kind of a form of recognition or a platform that they can kind of advertise themselves, get a little more, star power kind of, because we were talking with a lot of people at other schools. People are excited to see athletes around, and that's not really the case at Rice. And our athletes maybe don't feel supported because of that. So hopefully this will give them a way to get some kind of recognition. Do you want to talk about the...
Yeah, so that's the account. So
Add it right now.
do it right now. I don't know if it'll work from where you're sitting, but it should. We tested it. Ooh.
Camera? Add it. There's a... Okay. Is there anything... Nothing's going to happen, right?
Nothing is on it yet. But yet.
Yeah.
There you go. Everyone good?
So a big part, there it goes. A big part of this Snapchat campaign is kind of the administrative back end. So we're setting up a series of guidelines, a coordinator within Rally Club, a way to pass on the Snapchat account information and responsibility between athletes every week. This is kind of a method for that we got from Amber, the RACI method, which RACI is an acronym: responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. So we're going to appoint a coordinator a non-athlete probably in the Rally Club, who will be responsible for creating we're going to set this up, but they're going to administer this spreadsheet where athletes will sign up for weekly takeovers. And the Rally Club will be kind of responsible for doing that, and then athletes will be held accountable for posting content. Consulted is kind of we're kind of consulting with people and also providing information about what kind of content students might like. But we're also working with the athletes to kind of come up with that stuff. So, yeah.
So the next steps at this point is we need to work with the Rally Club to kind of institutionalize this Snapchat account and the takeover system and all the administrative stuff that Alec just took you through. We need to promote the Snapchat account, which we just did, but we're also going to be working on some hopefully cool marketing stuff. We're going to print out some stickers with the Snap QR code, hopefully put them all over campus, get people to get on board. And then we're also going to produce content guidelines that we can give to the athletes just to make sure that everything is just so that there's an institutionalized set of things. This is the kind of content we want to be putting on the story, and make sure that what's getting put on there is interesting and is accomplishing what we want it to. Keep things kosher. That's the end. Fearless leader, take some questions for us.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. So we started off just on basketball, and then based on how successful this is, we'd like to branch it out to the other sports.
Yeah. The account is Rice Rally, so
yeah, I mean it's open-ended.
Maybe we'll do it 5 months or something.
Have you guys worked with other schools that do kind of branding from the perspective of the athletes? Does UT have something like this, heavier down as any other school?
I haven't heard anything from UT doing this, but we should definitely look into that.
There are schools that do Snapchat takeovers. Usually it's from an admissions standpoint. It's advertising to prospective students. But athletes do take it over. And it's here's an athlete's perspective. Here's a STEM person's perspective. Not that those are mutually exclusive, but...
And then kind of going off of that, we talked to a basketball player, and he said one thing he recommended was getting one of those tiles in the Explore tab and seeing if we could somehow get one of those. Yeah. Yes. Mike first. Oh, Harrison first. Okay. Yes. So the main thing, I think the big thing about the account is that it gets people talking about sports. I think every single person that we interviewed, we asked them, when's the next game? No one knew. I mean, and that's a bigger problem, right? So hopefully this gets people interested, and friends just start talking about it with their friends, and hopefully that's just the push that's necessary for that to happen.
I think we definitely identified that as like one of our most powerful insights, but it's also a cultural thing. Almost. Like people going in small groups to these games would really be more fun if other groups were going, and it's a cultural change. So that I think has to start with other things.
Mike?